So since season 1, I'm shouting. No. Since season 1, a lot has happened.
I'm still hard at work at Nutopia, a HDB rooftop garden that I created with a team.
After I published the book, I joined a new project. It was the world's highest rooftop urban farm in a brand new skyscraper that was just built. I started the farm and I grew lots of produce for the restaurant that was right beside it. I decided to take that time to go travel and seek new experiences. So I went around different farms in Europe and Canada, learning about different kinds of farming. It's not actually doing amazing, but these are the grapes that are inspired by my journey to Italy and the rolling hills of Tuscany. It's definitely struggling in this climate, but again, this is a fun experiment, you know. Chris, a year ago, would never have thought of growing something so exotic. I had certain very strict ideas about how farming should be, but I think after traveling and after seeing all these different ways of farming, I started to take a step back and try to understand why things work a certain way.
After more than a decade as an urban farmer, tracing the journey of food from farm to table, I'm still on the hunt for more inspiration. But to go forward, sometimes you need to take a step back. So first up is a trip to New South Wales to reunite with the two most important people of my farming journey. So I'm on my way to Australia. Can't wait to see Paul and Judith. Oh mate, look at it. Beautiful sunrise. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Meet Paul and Judith. They planted the seed that set me on the road to becoming the farmer that I am today. Even now, I continue to draw on their experience for inspiration. Back in 2013, I spent many months learning the basics of self-sufficiency on their Earthkeepers farm. In 2020, they lost everything to a huge bushfire. Until today, they are still rebuilding the farm, so I've come back to help with the restoration work.
Hello, hello.
Oh my God!
How are you? We just say, welcome home, welcome home. You got older and so did we. I was once blonde and now I'm grey.
Oh, you don't look a bit older at all.
Be great. Be great.
Good man.
No, it's good.
see.
It's going to be good to see you and do things.
Actually, my heart was pounding so fast. It's just a lot of anticipation leading up to this moment. And when I saw Judith smile and Paul standing there smiling, you know, it was just such a nice, warm feeling. My impression was that this place would be in a pretty dire situation. I mean, that's what Judith told me. She said the place wasn't doing well, but man, this is like a 5-star resort. I can't believe that this was built from scratch in just like 2 years, and it's super impressive. A man cave?
Yeah.
What do you mean a man cave?
I'm going to make it look like a man cave.
Farm life is, I think it has been romanticized a lot. I mean, even myself, I have this really romantic idea of farming. All farmers have a little bit of that romantic side of them, but it's actually a lot of hard work. Just look at Paul and Judith. They can't go on a holiday because someone has to take care of the farm. Someone has to do the feeding of the animals. Just like us people, chickens need their breakfast too, so that's what we're doing for them. Good morning, girl. Yeah, I know you've been waiting for this, right? This is a chicken feeder. This was one of the first things I used to do as my morning routine when I woke up. So we'll come out here, feed the chickens, check on their water, just make sure they're doing okay. Yeah, I think it's a really nice thing to do first thing in the morning.
But peace on the Earthkeeper's farm does not last long.
She's a beauty.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
We had a windstorm here about a month or so ago, knocked this tree over. So we've got to go and slice her up to use in the fire for next winter.
So we took down the gum tree that was fallen and we chopped it up into pieces using the chainsaw. And the wood that was chopped up would be used later on for firewood to warm them up for winter.
Oh, I love having young people here. One more. There we go. Oh, with that energy, Chris, you can take the rest.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I'm tired now. I realized that, stuff happens on the farm, right? You have either fires or floods or some crazy weather event happening. On the flip side, this is the real farming, right? This is real living with the elements. Like when Paul saw the whole tree fallen, he wasn't too concerned. He's like, yeah, great, this is going to become something useful for me.
It's a timely reminder of a valuable lesson that has served me well on my urban farming journey in Singapore. The ability to see value in the things around us. My journey began with learning how to make use of underutilized urban spaces with this man, Bjorn Loh, the OG urban farmer in Singapore.
So when I first started out as an urban farmer and I came to this space, I had no idea what was urban farming about. It was a really blank slate.
Edible Garden City is a social enterprise that champions the grow your own food movement in cities. To date, it has helped build more than 260 edible gardens in Singapore.
Wow, this place is super lush. It's come a long way.
At the start, there was so much concrete around. Over time, you see things popping up and almost like, it's become a fertile concrete land, When we have very limited resources and very limited manpower, we really had to innovate and find new ways of doing things.
Yeah, it was super hard because we had nothing to work with, and I think that really forced us to do some creative stuff.
This is where I learned how to set up and run urban farms.
I remember this place.
Yes, it was a lot of sweat, heart, and tears to get this space up. Hasn't changed much. It was an experiment on trying to bring growing of food into highly dense urban spaces that don't have sun or don't have enough light.
What I've learned from you over this number of years is that you actually manage to help people see value in the spaces surrounding them. Because often, they have a patch of grass or lawn that they walk past every day. I think you manage to help them see that, we can actually produce food from it.
I'm glad that this has been taken on by the broader community, but I think we need to do a lot more.
Hello. So coming back here, seeing the community makes me feel very proud to know that whatever Bjorn and I have built is flourishing. So it's a very, very nice feeling for me.
But farming is unpredictable. Paul and Judith only had 15 minutes to evacuate their 5-hectare compound when the bushfire started. Livestock, food forest, infrastructure, all burned to the ground. Everything they lost, they had to rebuild from scratch.
That's big salad.
1, 2, 3, alley-oop. There we go. Look at the little bit you've got.
I'll have seconds and thirds.
You'll have seconds and thirds. So now we can catch up.
This is delicious.
Thank you very much for coming to help us recover from the fire.
I know that Going through the bushfire has been extremely difficult for both of you.
Because of our age, getting older and being in the last phase of our life, not the beginning of our life, we most probably will never replace what's been lost. You just have to walk away from it. That's all. We looked at each other's strengths, and from that, we were able to say, as Paul said, you're the creative thinker, you're the money manager, you're the project manager. So you get on with designing the house and you get on with the budgets. I'm the planner, the doer, the worker, the skilled person, the tradesperson that can do and build anything. I'll get on with all those details. And then we started.
The house burnt down on the 19th of December, so it was only a few days before Christmas. We were walking through the shopping centre knowing we'd lost everything, and everyone around us is happy because it's Christmas and they're all excited.
They're buying
and it was
presents
just
and
like,
everything.
It was really
It was
strange.
weird, as if we were in the wrong world.
Yeah.
We'd stepped into the wrong world.
So I had a guess that you didn't have time to take everything with you.
No, we didn't.
Nah.
No, we
so
didn't.
Here is a replacement photograph.
Oh my God.
Paul and Judith.
Look!
And you've not aged one bit.
Be generous.
So soon this will be like fully hard, and yeah, we've got a nice concrete cake. Today we're just here to recondition this area where the beehive is. During the bushfire, a tree fell down and everything was broken. So we are rebuilding some of the structure and putting in a new gate. So here,
Yeah,
in the very other center.
bit of overlap.
Okay,
Cutting the wire down here and reattaching it to the post. So we need to cut there
okay.
so we can nail it back onto there. Perfect.
Bees are actually really important in the natural ecosystem because they help to pollinate flowers. You always think of just like the vegetables, but you seldom maybe think of the supporting elements. Bees are one of these really, really helpful and important supporting elements.
Chris, have you had a lot to do with beehives?
Actually, I don't.
Because we lost all our beehives in the fire, 2 of them. So I've got this sitting here. We're going to try and tempt the bees to actually turn up and actually create a colony in here. So what we use is pure lemongrass essential oil because it imitates a pheromone of the bees. So while the bees are flying around here, they'll take that information back to their hive.
That's quite a lot, huh? It's quite a lot of oil.
Yeah.
It's making me think about the possibility of setting up a beehive in Singapore. How long will it take, Paul, to attract the bees to the hive?
That is a $2 million question.
You pray hard.
You just pray, yeah. The more bees you have flying around in here, the greater chance you have.
Nutupet also has a lot of bees, there's a lot of flowers there, so bees have been coming by a lot. So I think it might be a good idea to test it out, to try it out, to see if it works. I think it just fits right into the whole concept of like self-sufficiency.
Meanwhile, there is also a gate to put up, a fence to fix,
Very good.
and a mulberry tree to trim.
To be a farmer, you need to have a whole range of other skills, and building and construction is one of them as well. You constantly have to build things, to improvise, to fix things.
That got me thinking, if farming teaches us multidisciplinary skills, what other things can we pick up? Can we unlock the culture in agriculture? As it turns out, a Singapore botanical ink-making studio, Wild Dot, is using their green thumbs to do just that.
Alright team, what are we here to do? I see some tools. Looks like you're gonna put me to work.
Definitely. Today we're going to look for the roots of the noni tree. The noni tree is known to be a dye plant in Indonesia. Yeah. most people are familiar with the fruits, but I think what people don't really know is that the roots actually do give colour. So you can see over here there's this little red.
It looks like a little worm.
Yeah, it's like a little red worm. Yeah, so you kind of want to look out for that. But of course, we want to go for the lateral roots.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just want a few of these brownish,
Yeah.
like coffee colored ones. Okay, how
Yeah.
many of these?
Just
pieces?
one of this.
Just
should
one?
be. Yeah.
No way.
Gentle.
Oh, a bit more delicate.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to break the roots.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. It's also a very nice smell to it.
Spicy.
Yeah.
So this is the roots of the noni tree. It's actually a very different color from the other roots. You can tell it's orange in color. It looks very much like the color of turmeric.
We're about to harvest the fruits of the Malabar spinach here.
Ah.
So as you can see, like the purple ones here, these are actually the fruits. They are ripe and they are ready for harvest for us to make into inks. The ripe ones are actually very strongly pigmented.
It actually looks super tasty.
You want to try?
Better be good. It's like a flavorless blueberry. But it's super juicy, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would eat it. Oh, ooh.
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
oh, this is because it's
Yeah,
starting to
it's
get bitter.
really, yeah.
Like,
It's not.
bitter. Still.
So we're actually going to prepare some inks from two different plants. One is the Malabar spinach fruits that we just harvested, and the other one is the roots of the noni tree. Okay, so basically all you have to do with the fruits is just to really mash it up, and you start to squeeze out the juice from the fruits already.
This is so fun. It's like I'm making a little spice paste.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it looks good. So the next part of this, usually we just simply have to strain it. Just a tiny few drops of water, just to help the color come out a little better. And you can try to mash it a bit more. So I just use this is the original strainer. You see that?
OG.
So now you can really smell the noni actually. Yeah.
It's a bit spicy.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
bit
It's
yeah.
like,
spice.
I don't know, cinnamony or
Yeah.
clove-like.
So as you can see now, the color is kind of like yellowish brown. So I'm just going to pour it into the palette a bit first. Okay. And for noni, what we have to do usually is to adjust the pH. So we're going to be using a common household alkali called baking soda. I'm just going to add a few drops to it to see if anything. Okay, actually change it. So the color is going to slowly become more and more reddish as you adjust the alkali.
So in like layman's terms,
For a lot of plant inks, what's fun about them is that they tend to change with different pH levels. For example, like when you think about blue pea or red cabbage, the blue pea in acidic conditions is more pinkish. In neutral, it's kind of blue. And then when it's more alkaline, it actually turns green. This is a similar case of that.
so what are your aspirations with Valdot?
As an artist, what I like to look into is the source of pigments or what we can get in Southeast Asia. It's nice to also know that like where we get our source of pigments from and like share that with others.
For me, this has become like interestingly an avenue or a space to share more about my interest in plants with other people. As you know, if you just talk to people about plants, a lot of people aren't going to be interested. But in this case, it's through colors and art making that helps people to get more interested. Like, oh, I didn't know this plant can actually give this color. Oh, maybe I can actually grow this plant to do this at my own home, you know, kind of thing.
The first few steps coming up here, at first, you know, it gave me a sensation that this is like an artist residence. You know, there were all these different like materials like the dried paints, and also the fermented bottles there. That was the one thing that really struck me and something that I could relate to directly, because I had either used the ingredients for cooking before or used the processes which are very similar in cooking. Today's experience helped me to think that growing plants can actually help to feed the soul.
Paul and Judith have rebuilt the farm by staying true to their self-sustainable principles. Salvaging whatever was reusable from the bushfire, they have brought the Earth Keepers farm back to life.
Well, here we are. This is where we can see all of the fire damage. Look at this. This is a tyre wall. That's the fire damage there in the tyres. That soil that we can see down there, it's burnt. That's going to be too toxic for any plant. So what we're going to do is we can transfer the soil that's not burnt, which is good quality soil, and we can put it in here.
I'm actually feeling a bit tired, but with Judith here, I can't show how I'm actually feeling.
No. No.
So I'm not tired at all.
That's right. That's because I'm more than 40 years older than you. Right, we'll get some of this dry stuff on it. It's really wet, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a bit heavier.
Yeah, so we'll take, well, don't fill it up because it'll be too heavy to move. Yeah. You go down and I'll break this up. Come on, show me what you can do.
It's really back-breaking work. I don't know how they do it. They're double my age, and they're way stronger than I am. When I grow older, I want to be like them, strong and active.
Yep, that one, just tip it up there. Feeling stronger?
Definitely am.
Well, you can do another 6. Australian humour. So what we're going to do is we open the paper right up like that. We're going to do a basket weave. That's so the weeds can't come up in between the paper.
So can you use other materials as well? You don't have
Yes.
newspaper?
Yes, well, I mean, if you've got some old pajamas that are cotton or wool, you can just take the buttons off and use those.
Really?
Use clothes, yes. Putting the paper over the top will concentrate the earthworms, working that soil. And so by putting this on top, we're starting to layer the floor of the forest. We've got to wet these down, otherwise the wind will pick them up and blow the papers everywhere. Just got the sweet potato plants, and I've got a herb called rue, and it's an insect repellent, and it will help to keep the sweet potatoes free of beetles.
So right now we are building this little soil mounds. These are basically home for the sweet potatoes to start growing out from.
And sweet potatoes will break down all the newspaper. It acts as a soil plough, so it will go through as the paper rots. It will push down and start breaking up all the soil. So it means that I can come back in a year's time and I can grow lots of different things in here, and the sweet potato will do all the work for me.
Right, so it's like a little tiller,
Yes.
a natural tiller. It
Yes,
slowly
it's
does the work.
That's right. This is sugarcane mulch, and it's full of all your minerals and vitamins. So it actually conditions your soil as it breaks down and ages. Every bit of soil gets covered.
Gotcha.
We then put the wood chips around it, and the wood chips will break down with the sugarcane mulch, which will break down into the soil. So in 1 year's time, all this will be totally fertilised. Looking good, Chris. Very well done.
I finally got my first praise by Judith, so I think I did a good job.
You did a very good job, sweetheart. Just kiss. Mwah!
Aww.
Nothing goes to waste on the Earth Keepers farm. Even the wood chips come from the trees that were damaged by the bushfire. I wonder if this concept of regenerative growing can be transplanted to communities in urban Singapore. I posed that question to Ching Wei from Project Black Gold, a ground-up community composting initiative.
What we've got here is a little community garden, and there it is on your left.
It's amazing.
And what's good about this is it's not fenced up, so anyone can just walk in and have a look. We've been making compost to improve the soil and to regenerate it. Everyone comes down, do a bit of gardening, bring down their food scraps, and we do some composting together. So as you can see here, this is the first step in composting, is you have to break down the materials that you're going to compost to speed up the process. So we have the human cutting machines.
Love it. Everyone is so communal.
Yeah, so these are my neighbors and fellow gardeners. On Saturday, we come down and all sit together and start to cut them up for composting.
Yeah, this is a time where more people can gather together, sit down, be chit-chatting, understanding each other, and enjoy cutting at the same time. Yeah.
So this is more social than actually work for you.
Yeah, and also I think the food scraps, it's like we throw away so much, right? Now everything is going into the compost, and I don't feel so guilty,
To me, cutting grass is therapeutic, because sometimes this is the only downtime I have to just be myself, cut the grass, think about problems, or listen to the birds and so on. Yeah, the forest bathing, but there's no forest, it's just leaves and grass.
It's therapeutic.
I would have never heard anyone say that cutting grass is therapeutic. That's a really nice way to put it.
Money can't buy this kind of experience, this group of people. So I'm really grateful for that. Okay, so what we have here is a compost thermometer, and at the moment it's telling us that it's pretty hot in there. It's about 60 degrees. And what we're going to do is to turn it. When we turn it, we introduce fresh oxygen into it. The microbes that we're cultivating in this pile loves oxygen, so the more you give it, the more active they can be. So let's start. Go for it. Yep.
So it seems like a pretty straightforward game plan. You put the seafood, and then you put a layer of browns.
Yes. So it's nitrogen and carbon.
These guys are on autopilot.
They've been making this for months. Okay, I think we leave the rest of in the back. But if you want to talk about recipe, just follow 2 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen, do the kueh lapis, and then do a rojak at the end when it's ready. And then that's roughly the recipe that will give you a good general compost.
All right, this is complete.
Yeah, that's done. We're good.
Done. Good work, everybody. I didn't even feel that this was a chore.
Really how this got started was because Iris asked me if there was a way to make compost in her kitchen instead of having to come down here and using a pitchfork. So I thought, well, these are love letter cookie jars, and pretty much almost every Singaporean would have some form of this kind of jar in their home. All you need to do is drill some holes at the bottom. So what happens is this lid, instead of going on top, becomes the dish to catch all the drips.
Very clever.
And on top, what you have is, because you need oxygen, microbes need a lot of oxygen. You could put a piece of mesh and just put a rubber band over it, and there you have your baby container compost. People have tried container composting before, and their feedback to me was, when I do it at home, I just pick up any dried leaves from my garden or on the street, and I mix it with food scraps. So it's carbon and nitrogen, but it didn't work. And that is because food scraps like these break down super fast, whereas leaves and dried grass, they take weeks, months even to break down. So imagine these guys having a very slow partner. It's not going to match. So you get a lot of rotting happening as a result. But with wood shavings, because it's so fine, it can be a partner to match the speed of the food scraps. Like these two will break down at the same time. So that's why for container compost, it's okay to use dried leaves and stuff, but the key ingredient is wood shavings.
So the thing is, be generous with your wood shavings.
I can tell what you had last night for dinner.
Yes. Spread it, not spread it around.
This is literally a miniature version of what we just did.
That's right. It's 2 portions of carbon to 1 portion of nitrogen, which is the food scrap. The last ingredient to add is water. because microbes are like humans, they need food and they need water as well. So what we're going to do is pour water from the top down and let it percolate all the way through and comes out at the bottom. That way you know that every part of the compost has some water in it.
So does it matter where you store this compost?
Actually, it does. Baby compost need more care than big compost. We're going to keep it in a place at home that is out of direct sunlight. So this method I have sort of taught it to different community groups, and the feedback over the last 18 to 24 months has been that, yeah, it works. And that's why we're still doing it at home.
What struck me was how the same process can be utilized both in the large scale and also all the way to the home gardener's method of using containers. I personally had been dabbling in composting myself. I have not managed to achieve the kind of success that she has.
That's quite fun. So you're getting creative, are you?
Yeah.
So I think it's really wonderful that when knowledge is used and applied purposefully and well, magic can really happen.
Catching up with Paul and Judith, I'm reminded of how passionate they both are on the topic of self-sustainability. At their age, they have to be smart about how they work the land in order to keep the farm going.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Which one do we harvest?
As always, Judith is already thinking one step ahead.
Is we're going to look at the bigger leaves. The bigger leaves are denser in flavour and richer. We're going to chop it all up and put it in the freeze dryer. So we just cut right across the bottom here, like that. One cut. Look at it closely to see if it's got any wood chip or bark.
Bigger than your face.
And
So Judith, why are we freeze drying them? I mean, isn't it just great eating it raw?
so I look at this and I think, I save what I've got now because it's abundant. I don't know what we'll have next year or the year after.
Yeah.
By freeze drying it, it restores 97.3% of its nutrition, and it will store for up to 25 years.
25 years?
25 years. If you can grow any food, you're taking the pressure off the farmers. And if you take the pressure off the farmers of growing more and more food for people, that saves trees. But more importantly, it saves grass. Grass in its DNA has two roles. It must cover the soil from harsh elements. Its second role is to preserve fodder every season for grazing animals. They in turn manure, birds come down, pick up the seeds, and the cycle goes and goes and goes and goes and everything grows, right? You hop out. And so all we do is just take it like that, just roll it like that, right? Once you get it in like that, you can start squashing it up.
It's still green.
Only taking the water out.
So we just added a bit of water.
I put 1 tablespoon of water on it, waited 1 minute, and it's reconstituted. And you just ate.
It tastes exactly like how we just sliced it yesterday.
Exactly. Less than a minute.
Perfect.
Perhaps the lesson here is to work with nature, not against it. I'm paying a visit to a friend who is demonstrating that when it comes to growing edibles, we should take a leaf out of Mother Nature's playbook.
Yeah, okay, so we are in Kota Tinggi, sitting on 130 acres of existing palm oil land that we are going to convert into an agroforestry system with a focus on food production, a little bit of vegetables and some timber as well.
Oh, timber.
We've been doing this for about 2.5 years. One of the main objectives is to show that it's possible for us to be doing something that positively affects the environment and also be able to grow amazing produce and be sustainable. We have been doing it with very little inputs actually. On a tree row like this, we started out by using a little bit of compost and a little bit of manure. Some of the rows that were planted 2 years ago, they have never been fertilized and they have never been watered at all.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, I think that's quite amazing.
This grass is freshly cut. I mean, you guys just do this as for aesthetics?
So we plant the grass, and what we do is we cut them when it gets taller before it goes to flower. We cut it and then we sweep it to the side and we use it for mulch on the tree lines.
Oh, so basically it's like a natural fertilizer.
Yeah. Grass has a very important purpose for what we do here. It's one of the key builder of fertility in our system.
I feel like I just want to be watching you do it. Hey, got the sound.
The sound is very satisfying.
Yeah, man.
So what we need to do now is management of this tree line. There will be weeding that we need to do, and then we also need to prune some of the trees.
Right. So after you cut it into sections, you chuck it back as mulch?
Yeah. So one way is slice it in half. Touch this and feel the amount of moisture that it has. And then we use it to basically mulch the soil, and then it will be like a slow release nutrients that the trees will need.
Every plant performs a function in a tree row like this, from providing nutrients to shade and roots that encourage water infiltration. It's a complete food forest.
So even though it just seems like you're just coming here chopping up random stuff, actually there's a thought behind this process, isn't it?
Yeah, what happens when we prune them is that sunlight will come into the system. It would give the energy needed for some of the plants that are slowly growing underneath the plants on top. So you want to be able to manage all this organic matter that is on top, put it down, bring in a little bit of sunlight so that the rest of the stuff can continue growing. Okay, Chris, we are done.
You're done?
Let's go.
This is the happiest day of my life. Let's go.
Even though less than a tenth of the farmland has been utilised, a little wild has already started supplying produce to Singapore. From fruits like papayas, bananas, and passion fruit, to vegetables like kangkong, chili, and lady's fingers.
Look at that. Wow, super juicy. Wow, it's amazing. One of my favorite fruits. So can you tell me more about syntropic farming?
Yeah, so syntropic farming is the technique that we use here. It's based on successional agroforestry. So if you look at the dynamics of the forest, on an open land where there's no trees, it's always seeking to convert itself into a forest. Like every land wants to become forest. So by taking that dynamics, we are translating it to become a food-producing forest system. And I always say that when we have forests, we are safe. A forest is sustainable, it is self-sufficient. It doesn't require inputs from outside. And one of the main things in syntropic agroforestry is that it's a process-based agriculture, as opposed to conventional farming where it's an input-based agriculture, where you just bring in things from outside and buying fertilizer and buying chemicals to put in our system. You know, you can imagine this place 10 years from now. It's just going to be amazing, lots of fruits, lots of food, and definitely it can facilitate a lot of life, a lot of wildlife, a lot of birds. So the main goal is not just to grow the produce, but the main aim is actually conservation, and the food production is actually a byproduct of doing the conservation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how we look at things over here.
Wow, that's amazing, man. What I really like about what you've done is you've taken a very, the knowledge from traditional farming and conservation and, you know, squish it together and made it something very productive. While you're producing more, you're actually doing good for the earth. Yeah, I think that's like, I don't know, it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
been inspired by the beehive that I set up with Paul. So I've decided to get one of my own and set it up in Utopia. I've decided to put it right in the center of the garden to attract interest and show children how we can keep bees in Singapore. We can coexist with nature in a very harmonious way. The heat was sweltering at the start, and now it's gonna storm, so I really have to work super fast. It's a race against time! Ah! Okay, the weather's here. What a beauty. My first ever beehive set up. I'm so excited. Woo, can't wait. So just as I was about to finish my final touches, the thunderstorm set in. It's crazy. There's a few more things I need to do. I'm going to need to put some lemongrass oil to attract the bees. I also intend to elevate it to make it easier to reach. And the last thing I'm going to do is to splash a beautiful bright coat of paint to make it look really beautiful and attractive. And in a few weeks' time, hopefully, we're going to get some nice honey. I think it's also a good acid test to see if the beehive holds up in this crazy tropical weather. Today we're just finalizing the whole beehive. We're trying to lure the bees by putting some of the traps in the form of lemongrass oil and beeswax. Learning from what Paul taught me, I just drizzle some oil along the top edge of the beehive. Oh, it smells so good. And the other thing that I've learned recently is that we can also use beeswax. This is what the bees use to make their hive naturally. I'm trying to apply the beeswax on the inside part of the roof. The local variety of bees, the Apis cerana, uses the beeswax to build their hive, and they're also attracted from the beeswax. So hopefully this will give us an additional chance of success for attracting the bees. I mean, to be honest, I'm a complete newbie to this, but as if anything, you just got to try and make mistakes and figure it out along the way. That's definitely the lesson I've learned from Paul and Judith. Because every context is so different, it's important to figure out what works in your context, and you can only do that by trial and error. So the last thing is I'm just going to take a look at these. So these were the exact same honeycombs that Paul used in Australia, and the local bees, the Apis cerana, apparently don't really like these ones. So they're okay with a frame like that where they will create their own organic shape. So I've put both in, who knows, they might surprise me. Okay, so the last thing to do is to put this on the frame. Oh, look at it. It's so pretty. We've varnished the sides and also painted the roof. So this guy is now waterproof and is able to withstand the tropical weather and the tropical heat. Also beside this Ulam Raja plant to provide a little bit of shelter from the sun. So hopefully the bees will get attracted and they will come in from here, this little opening. Fingers crossed, let's wait for Mother Nature to do its thing. I think the biggest lesson as an urban farmer is that you need to use what you have around you and adapt it to your local context. You are your own scientist. Over time, you need to observe and see what works for you. If you have a recipe, don't just follow it blindly. Understand the principles behind it and then adapt it to your own context. I think that's what makes a really, really good urban farmer. So you think anything has changed since I first came to now?
You have grown greatly in knowledge and you've acquired a great deal of wisdom about life. You've gained life experience in different careers and changes that you made. We've been through every one of those changes with you. I think you're going to go on to do great things.
Thank you. It's really nice coming back. It really feels like just like yesterday, even though it's been 4 years. And
It's gone so quick.
yeah, I've got good news to share.
What?
So,
What?
can you guess? Cheryl and I are getting married
When?
at the end of the year. So we're gonna do like a farmy carnival wedding. Gonna build lots of stuff from scratch. I'm really impressed by their resilience. And I think what I realized is that they've managed to be so efficient in the last 2 years rebuilding this whole property to this state. And that's because they have all this experience that they've gathered over time through making their own mistakes. This inspires me to want to continue to find others like them, other people who have such great depth of knowledge and experience as well. And surely they can teach me something, and something that I can apply to my own farming journey.
Kiss me quick, nothing makes me sick.
Set. 目標失敗